We're in downtown Burlington this morning, 13th annual Telling Tales Festival coming up. It's virtual again this year. We're at Different Drummers Books, which has been here forever, a great bookstore. I got to check it out. I'm here with Josh Taylor, and Josh, you are an award-winning hip-hop dancer. You own Defining Movement Dance. You are artistic director and owner of the studio, everything. I mean, I could go on about you forever. Oh. We could get you to dance, but we have to talk books right now.
We have to talk books.
Because you're the host of the festival.
I am.
And so you want to tell us all the details of how this festival is going to work out this year online.
Yes, yeah, super exciting. We have ages from 0 to 18, and it goes from September 21st to 23rd. That's the main event. Then we have the Nature Tales, which is September 29th.
Right.
Then we have programming that goes on from October all the way to March 2022. And there are 4 stages, so that's exciting. And there is a special education package for teachers that will enhance the programming that we have throughout the festival, so definitely check that out. That's kind of fun.
So it's tellingtales.org, and that's how people can go on and really find out the schedule, right? Because there is a schedule. There's
a schedule. There's a creativity club where kids can actually submit their own art or work. There's stuff for teachers. It's a great website. I was on it the other day. It's fantastic.
And it's good to get kids back into the books and reading again. It's been a little weird the last year and a half. I think there's been a lot of video game playing, you know, kids in and out of school. So we want to get kids back in into the books no matter what, no matter how great video games are, we all still need to read, and the importance of reading.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. So.
Yeah, well, we're looking forward to seeing you, and we're going to bring in actually one of the authors. We're featuring authors all morning this morning, if you stay tuned with us. Come on here. So Sarah Raleigh, your book's geared more to 14 plus, right? So tell me a little bit about it.
Well, this book is for people who love Sherlock Holmes. It's very 19th century London. It's about an African tightrope dancer who actually, she has a secret. She can't die. So she's immortal, and she doesn't know why. But because she's supernatural, she gets recruited into this tournament to the death with all these other supernatural 19th century people in London. So it's very cool.
Wow. Now, is this kind of always been your interest, this depth, this sort of storyline? This is where you come from.
Yeah, I'm very much about the epic fantasy, and it doesn't get more epic than a supernatural fight to the death.
Oh, she sounds beautiful. And we were talking about the beautiful illustrations as well, and how happy you were when you saw the illustrator and what she did and how she elevated your book.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Khadija from Malaysia. She's phenomenal, and I think she's excited to see her work out there in the wild. But
I can imagine.
When I first saw this, I yelped. I was so excited.
I bet. Well, congratulations. Is the book officially out on the shelves now?
September 7th.
Yay!
It's going to be out there, and there's an audiobook as well for those who prefer that mode of delivery.
Good for you. So that's an awesome idea. That's an awesome idea. Thank you so much, Josh and Sarah as well. We have all kinds of wonderful things going on this morning here. We're talking about the Telling Tales Festival, tellingtales.org. You can go on, find out more information. Let's get back into the books. Well, school is starting. We are going back to school, everybody.
You know I'm all about those books,
Morning. We're here in downtown Burlington at a Different Drummer Books, and we're talking about the Telling Tales Festival that's coming up. And we love this festival. It's been around for a long time. It's online again this year. And I'm with a special guest here today, Salita Guy, and you have your PhD in ecology and all these wonderful things. Like, tell us what this means to us.
Yeah, so I did my PhD at the University of Toronto, where I studied bats as carriers of infectious disease, but I also studied how bats are adapting to city living, right? We share our cities with a lot of different wildlife, and so I really wanted to understand, how are bats changing their behavior in these cities landscapes, and how does that change the way that we interact and share the space with them?
And in general, most people's reactions to bats isn't necessarily positive.
No, it's not, but it always surprises me because I love them, right? There are over 1,400 different types of bats around the world. Wow. That's a lot. They're the second most species-rich group of mammals.
Really?
And they're so weird and wonderful.
Yes,
I mean, they do so many important things for our environment. Bats that feed on insects are important pest control for our crops, while bats that, feed on nectar, they actually pollinate a lot of things like agave, which we use to make tequila for the adults in the audience that drink. You might like that, right?
Of course.
And they're also bats that feed on fruit, and they are really important for moving seeds around our landscape to help our forests grow up big and healthy. So
all of this discussion, you thought, you know what, I need to get this in a book.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, absolutely.
And I'm sure you probably have so much up here that needs to go into books. So, and to educate children. So this is generally for more kids around 9 to 12 years old,
9 to
right?
12, yeah.
This is called Chasing Bats and Tracking Rats. And this is like a full-on reference book. Like you can flip through it and it's just jam-packed full of info.
So it's all about urban ecology. So all about how scientists study the nature that we share our cities with. And each chapter features a different scientist from across North America. So 8 different scientists, and their work is centered in this book. And unlike a lot of nonfiction kids books, it doesn't just like give kids kind of the end facts of knowledge.
Right.
It takes them through the process of how we do science. And each chapter actually starts with a story from one of the scientists from the field. So I share my most dangerous night in the field. I was like, almost fell off a roof, got caught by the police, had some really fun run-ins. That's all in this book.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, you actually have something in your hand, which is interesting because
I
of your love
do.
of bats. Who even knew? I mean, this looks like something you'd see in a movie. And again, that's why I think we have a fear for bats. Generally, we make them seem so scary.
Right, they come out at night. We can't often see them very well. And on top of that, they echolocate. So they make sounds outside the range of human hearing, so we can't hear them. But this nifty machine is a bat detector. It allows us to take those echolocation calls from bats, kind of cut that frequency in half, so we can hear when they're around, out feeding. We can actually tell different species depending on what frequency I like turn this dial to. Obviously, we're not going to hear any bats right now because it's the middle of the day.
They like it at night.
Exactly, they're sleeping
right now. I saw them at the zoo. Very cool. They are cool. I have to let you know.
Amazing, right?
I
When you
agree.
kind of get past that creepy factor,
Yes.
they're amazing.
Well, we're going to help kids get past the creepy factor, and I think this is great for adults too. This book coming out in November.
November 9th, it will be released. It is
But-
now available pre-order though.
Oh, very
Yes.
good. So you need to
You
get
can
on
go ahead and
that.
get a copy.
But Telling Tales Festival, you are actually going to be featured on September 29th. Your book.
My book.
So
I'll be
people get-
doing a reading, sharing that story that I mentioned about my own work. So you can check it out September 29th.
Very good. Telling Tales Festival coming up online. We have lots to tell you all morning. We'll be back here at Different Drummers Book in downtown Burlington. Morning. We're here in downtown Burlington. We're talking about the Telling Tales Festival coming up. Raven, Rabbit, and Deer will be featured. And I'm with illustrators and authors. And today I'm with an illustrator, which is always nice to talk to, right? So we get to see who draws the pictures in the books. Jennifer Faria, nice to have you with us.
Yeah, thanks.
And we were talking about how this all kind of came to be for you, but often I think my question for you is an author writes a book and then they need somebody that's going to connect to the book that will draw and draw these pictures in the way that they sort of saw it as they're writing the story. So you have to really kind of get inside of their head, right?
Yeah.
How difficult is that?
Actually, the author and the illustrator usually never meet, so that's the
Right.
publisher's job. So they just like think of the best illustrator that they think would go with the story, and then they just put them together. And often they never met. I've met Sue Farrell-Haller online, and we email back and forth. She's super sweet and super nice, but normally, they never meet at all.
So the publisher knows that somehow this is what they're looking for. You're going to help them create their story and make it come to life, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about your connection, because you said you really had to really become more intimate with the storyline of this book, and you did.
Yeah. So my art director told me, she gave me some great advice. She said, if you really want to make some good illustrations and like have the best time with the book, then you've got to find any way to make it your own and make it totally personal.
Right.
Just figure out any way to do that. So what I did was I incorporated my family, since
I love this picture.
So here I have, that's me and my daughter, my other daughter. My son's driving the truck.
Oh, lucky boy.
Yeah,
He's
that's
only
his
11.
favorite color, orange. Yeah, and there's my husband. And so I just like did little things like that in the book, just to, I don't know, make it more personal, so that I would really get invested in it.
Exactly. So let's talk about this grandfather figure that you drew in the book, and sort of that kind of story. It's such a great little story.
Sure. So this is I based the grandfather character off my great uncle Leonard, who isn't with us anymore. But he was just such a sweet, kind guy. And he lived in BC. And when we were doing the book, we needed some translations in Ojibwe. And
which are at the front.
Yeah. And I have a cousin who lived there who's his daughter. And anyway, I was talking to her about the translations, and she said, wow, this is after I had done all the artwork for the book. She said, that's so funny, this picture. She said, I have a photograph that I keep at my desk at work that is of my dad and his grandson, and it looks very similar. So she
And-
sent it to me, and this
This is the picture.
is the picture. And
So,
he's even got checkered pants. So strange.
and the way he's holding the child as well, for being
Yeah.
a somewhat older child, it's interesting that, and this just came from your head.
Yeah.
And then that
it would have been
exists.
useful actually to
It
have.
actually would have been, you could have referenced it.
That's right.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, it just goes to show you the creativity that comes from things, and there's so many interesting connections in this book. So
Yeah.
you have a reading and a bit of a painting that you're going to do during the Telling Tales Festival.
Yeah, I'm going to do a demonstration of painting a raven. So
Beautiful.
Yeah, and I'm going to read some of the books.
All right, so Telling Tale Festival is coming up again online. You can go to tellingtales.org. All the information coming up 21st to the 23rd of September, but it extends beyond that. So it's definitely something to check out. And this bear plays a very particular role in this as well.
That's right.
We're very
That's
excited.
Green Bear.
Green Bear. We'll be back here. Different Drummer Books in Burlington. Talking about the Telling Tales Festival, tellingtales.org if you want to find out more information, all online this year, and it's all about beautiful new books that have come out. And I'm here with a wonderful author that's very colorful. You can see how colorful we are. And you have a series of books about this particular character. Tell me how these came to be for you.
Well, it starts all the way back from my childhood. I come from a Caribbean background. My parents are from Jamaica. I grew up going to the Caravana Parade as a kid. And then I was inspired to start writing stories for kids again just before I started teaching at the Afrocentric School. And I took a course in writing for children, and we had an assignment to write a picture book. So I had an idea. Actually, I've been fascinated with Carnival. I had made a book as a kid about Carnival. So when the idea for this picture book came, it was a combination of Carnival, of a girl who exudes a lot of strength and creativity, and it also incorporates some of family history around Caribbean migration to Canada and the United States.
Beautiful.
And it was all of those things. And so that it was just like a combination of all
It
those
came
things.
to you probably pretty easy once you got
It
rolling,
did.
right?
It did, exactly,
Right.
exactly.
And we know like Carnival is so colorful. There's music and sounds and food and wonderful things, right? So it really is an experience that sticks with you from
Yes.
being a child. So
Yes.
all of a sudden all these stories come out. And I
Yes.
want to show you this other book here. So this particular one won the TD Award.
Yes.
And so every grade one across Canada, every grade one child got this book.
They will be getting this book this fall.
Amazing.
It's called the TD Children's Book Giveaway,
Yeah.
and they choose one book each year. So I'm really honored that this book, which
Huge
is the
honor,
first
Nadia.
book in the series, got selected
Yes.
for the giveaway.
So how big is the series going to be?
So we have the third book that came out in the spring. It's called Malaika Surprise. And in 2017, we had Malaika's Winter Carnival. I'm happy to say there will be a fourth book, and I'm not going to say too much about it yet. But Malaika's Surprise is basically the story of Malaika and her. Each book it charts her experience from going from the Caribbean to Canada, and it models a lot of what many children in Canada go through,
Sure.
migrating, and their families go through. It's not always a tidy story, you know.
Right.
They have to go through challenges. There's a new language, new culture. Sometimes families are separated too. And I have to tell you, Carnival is part of each of the stories. So
I love it.
use Carnival as a way to tell the story of immigration and the story about this wonderful girl that I've come to know really well, Malaika.
Oh, you know what? And
Yeah.
people will learn about Malaika. Again, Telling Tales Festival coming up. It's a 13th annual. It's all online this year. People can go onto tellingtales.org and find out more information. Your story will be on there, and then all of the books can be found, and even found here at Different Drummer as well here in Burlington. So thank you so much for coming on and wearing in costume too. It's so nice to see, and it helps all of us relate a little bit more to people's stories. So
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.